Yes, sir. Your Saturdays are for the big dogs. BDGE.co. Go become a big dog member if you want to be a part of these live streams every Saturday with myself. We are bike in the big way. We got Dylan Moore. Appreciate you, Dylan Moore. The goat of goats. Dylan Moore is here. What's going on, Dylan? What's going on, everybody? How are we doing on this fine Saturday? I am, after this, going to fix something on my wife's car, which was going to do this morning, but had to order a part. How was everybody's Saturday going? And are we ready for football, man? I mean, ready or not, here we come. College football is here, and we got the NFL right around the corner. Real NFL games, obviously. We got preseason going on. You see on the thumbnail, I think Nick and I were pretty much in lockstep on this early on as far as Emeka, Egbuka going to the Bucks early on, you know, the crowded wide receiver room potentially there of Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. But we're telling you, fade the noise. And right now, as a matter of fact, I'm going to just go check what our good friends at Keep Trade Cut say. And his Dynasty stock is going through the roof. And the crazy part is it didn't even take a single game being played for people to see the potential for him to be a scorer out the gate, difference maker potentially. I'm not saying he's going to be, but that was already, to me, kind of baked in. Now we're seeing, let's see where he's at. Micah Egbuka is currently wide receiver 17, top 50 overall asset. Travis Hunter and Micah Egbuka. So Garrett Wilson, wide receiver 15. I'm sorry, Garrett Wilson's 14. Then we have A.J. Brown, 15. Travis Hunter, 16. And Micah Egbuka, 17. He's actually ahead of T. Higgins on Dynasty rankings on Keep Trade Cut. By the way, if you want Dynasty rankings, make sure you go check out bdge.co. Any of the Big Dog members here, you get access to them. Just updated mine today. Croskey-Merritt, Lil Bill, continues to slide up the Dynasty ranks as well. But Dylan, man, what's going on with you? What's going on with everybody in the chat? Do you have some teams or some things you want me to go over? I know there was at least one person yesterday that was kind of asking me about a specific league where I believe it was a 14-team, one quarterback, and they were asking, do I think that was it 10-team? I need to check it out. They were asking if I think the quarterbacks should be going early in this format, and was going to show them the Worp tool as well as some other things. But here we got Micah. What's going on, Micah? Thanks for the draft guide and ranking tool. Yeah, absolutely, man. All right, I'm glad to hear it. Nick has been killing the draft guide as well as the ranking tool. Everything on the BDGE website is killing it right now. So I hope your draft actually did go well. It seems like you're pretty excited about it. So time will tell, but I believe in your team, Micah. I think we nailed it, kind of. When you don't feel good about your team out of the gate, I found that only everybody typically feels good about their team right away. So if you don't feel good about it early, only worse things are waiting to happen. But what's going on? Do you guys have any questions? Any teams you want me to take a look at? Whatever your wish is my command. And Micah does have a question for you about a roster. All right. Do we need to target? Do we need to find running back depth or a tight end too, and try to trade preseason with someone who maybe needs some wide receiver depth, or just wait and see how the season starts? Okay. So, Micah, let me ask you: is this in Sleeper? Where do you play this league? Is it Dynasty? Is it Redraft? Is it a keeper league? Kind of give me some of the details. If it is on Sleeper, I can go to the lab and pull up the actual roster as well as your league, kind of go through some of the details with you. If it is in Sleeper, it makes it a lot easier to kind of walk through as you're talking me through your team. But if it's not on Sleeper, I can still do it. Somebody has a contract league, which is all in the spreadsheets. So I can do it however you want me to. But if you can give me some of the details of if it is in Sleeper, give me your Sleeper username and then the league name, and I'll pull it up on the lab. If not, give me some of the details about your team, so we can try to find the running back depth or tight end too, to try to trade. I got you though, Micah. Glad you're here today, man. What about you, Dylan? You got anything for me while you're here? Let me know. Okay, so we have for Micah, it's a 10-team full PPR. Starting 9. Okay, so it's 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver. That's 5. 6 is the tight end. 7 is the flex. Okay, so it's start 7 offense. We got a kicker and then a defense. All right, and we got 6 bench. Okay, and it's a keeper league. Got it. So you kept Rice. I'm assuming that's Rashee Rice. What up, Matty Higgins? Okay, so you kept Rice. So you have right now in 1 quarterback Lamar. That's fantastic. Gibbs. That's also great. Damn, how did you? You got Lamar, Gibbs, Chase Brown. We got Mason, Bigsby. These are the rounds you drafted him, I assume. So you got Evans. You kept. So you got Mike Evans. Kept Rashee Rice. You got not James Worthy, Xavier Worthy. We got Tet McMillan, George Pickens, Rome Odunze. This is ridiculous. This team is nice, man. Crazy nice. Now you did say 10 teams, so I'm sure a lot of the teams look good, but this is you should feel good about this team, man. You should feel really good about this team. All right, let's go back to the question now after looking at it. So when I'm looking, I mean, you could argue that the wide receiver position isn't top heavy, but I mean, it's really deep. And honestly, I think it's pretty good at the top, frankly. You're absolutely studded at running back and quarterback. So, okay. Do we need to find running back depth or tight end 2? Yeah, actually, what was your tight end? Nah, I would say this. Typically in a league format like this, you didn't give me this. Well, you did give me the scoring, actually. It's full PPR, so it's not tight end premium. I either have a stud or I don't, typically. So if you have Ferguson, that's great. I'm not going to use one of those, what'd you say, 7 bench spots, right? You only have 6 bench spots. I'm definitely not using one of them to kind of roster my tight end 2. If anything, if Ferguson becomes, I'm assuming this is Jake Ferguson, but if Ferguson becomes like unusable or, you're finding you're really struggling with him, I would, if anything, I would stream in a format like this tight end as opposed to rostering a tight end 2. To the second question, which was, what was it? Oh, to find running back depth. So here's what I would be saying about this. The way your roster constructed, in my opinion, is great because, like, you already have, let's see, you can start how many total receivers? So there's 2 wide receiver and 1 flex. So you can only start 3 receivers, right? So to me, Evans, Rice, Worthy, McMillan, Pickens, Odunze. Ricky P, honestly, I'm hoping for good things, but not necessarily sure. To me, I think I'm perfect with your roster. I'm not worried about depth at the moment. You only have to start 2 running backs. Mason and Bigsby both have a chance to end up taking a bigger role than I think a lot of people think at the moment. And what I would be doing is just keeping my fab and kind of ready to – I'm probably going to be keeping it for the most part, right, on using it. Not using it early because I think your team doesn't need it right now. Don't go making any splash plays early on. Save that money, and then when and if you need a running back in the depth, I think the fab is kind of your hammer to go get, the priority running back in this type of a league. That's the way I would be approaching it. So let me know if that makes sense, but, I'd be happy to tell you if I thought it would make sense. Definitely not the tight end, tight 2. And I mean, Gibbs and Chase Brown right now, I'm pretty happy with it at the top. And again, just save your fab and try to go get that big splash play later on. I don't think you need to do anything crazy right now. Your team's in a great position. So that's where I'm at. Maddie, what's going on, man? I know we talked. I've got to get out of here at 3:45. So I know we talked a little bit about the Devy. I could pull it up. I don't know, Maddie, if you want to wait for next week, but it is college week before the NFL. So if you want me to do that, I can try to go over it with you here, or I can get to some other questions. You guys let me know what you want to do. Or Matt, if you have – Matt, I know you got some other Dynasty teams too that you might want to go over as well. And frankly, I'm surprised you haven't been trying to – or at least telling me about the trades you've been trying to make in all your leagues, because I know you're always active. But what's up? I see we got more people in the chat, and – don't need to be shy. Throw the questions in. Throw the comments in. At least give me a year. Give me something. Let me know you're here. Let me know you're active on Saturday, man. Saturdays are for the big dogs. But, yeah, I just did some I did a little rankings comb over for – I try to do it at least once a week, sometimes more, depending on if there's, actual movement. Right now, some of the some of the like stuff in the narratives in the preseason, I think, can be. I'm not going to say it's guaranteed to be noise, but I'm not ready to, move my rankings completely around, just based on some stuff that I think could be noise, but at least on a weekly basis right now. Yeah, it makes total sense. Thanks. Like I said, I think I nailed it. I mean, I found real value with the rankings, and yeah, I mean, dude, you crushed this draft. I mean, it's a 10 team, so I'm sure there's other pretty good looking teams, but there's not much better you could do at this point. And you're going to need some things to break right, hopefully, for you. But if you can, knock on wood, this is real wood, knock on wood, and avoid the injury bug, man, it's crazy. Been extremely busy with school and work and just trying to figure stuff out, so I've had to put Dynasty in the back burner for now. All right, I respect the grind, but how about we put it on the front burner? Let's just see, Maddie. Tell me what you, at least for the next half hour or so. If you have any trades or leagues you want to look at, anything that's kind of on the back of your mind, in the back burner for now. I do want to do the Devi, show the Devi stuff off, Matt, for your league, but in a perfect world, I want to be a little more prepared with the info, and I have not had the opportunity to do so. Also, speaking of which, I'm going to be going out to New York tomorrow. We are going to, I'm sorry, not tomorrow, Monday I'm going to New York, but your Idiot League mates, the draft starts Tuesday in New York City. It's going to be fun, man. I'm ready to go, ready to be heard again. Last year I felt like I actually had it was a top-heavy team, and I felt like it was pretty good, ready to go for the playoff push, but ultimately didn't make it. And the CMC injury in the snow absolutely just gashed my heart. But enough about me and my leagues. What about you guys? Micah, if you got any more questions, you let me know. But, yeah, as far as that league goes, I think you killed it, man. Appreciate you, buddy. If my draft looks, half as good as yours, I'll feel pretty good about it. It is 12-team and Superflex, the one that we do for your Idiot League mates. Haven't been cooking up many trades. I'm in a spot where most of my teams are just waiting for injuries to happen or for people to produce so I can sell. Gotcha. Okay. Hey, if you're happy, I'm happy, Matt. I get you, buddy. I feel that for sure. Dylan? Talk to me, buddy. I know you got something you want me to look at. I don't think we have the person that was wanted to talk about the about their format. That was, maybe was it 10-team Superflex? Pulling it up here. Yeah, it was 10-team Superflex. So could pull that up here in a minute if no one else has questions, but y'all let me know. I had to study for it because my keepers were Rice, don't ask, and the rest had round one keepers. So I went Gibbs and not wide receiver round one. Yeah, I mean, I think in the format you're in, now it would all depend on scoring, but if you just say 10-team full PPR, especially if I have Rice as a keeper, but even if I don't, I think trying to get, I don't know how to put it, but if I have a pretty damn good receiver like Rashee Rice, I would love to have one of the elite running backs early. The tough part is if you're just doing a redraft draft and you get like one of those early ones like a Bijan or a Gibbs or somebody, a lot of times by the time it comes back to you on the turn, your wide receiver value is pretty plucked over. So Dylan, you know what? You twisted my arm, buddy. If that's what you want to look at, I will look at it with you. All right, so BDGE League 47. Dylan Moore, give me your, I think it's Dylan. Give me your league name. League name. Give me your, that's the league name right there. Give me your sleeper username again for me, Dylan, and I will pull it up for you. We'll take a look. Let me know what you think, and let me know if it was your team, what you would do. I'm kind of all in. All right. I think it was Dylan David. You know what? Let me see if I can. Look at that. Let's go to the lab. I know it. I already know it off the top of my head. Although you just put it in the chat. All right, so it was BDGE League 47, right? 47, okay. Right at the top here. David and Dylan. Dylan and David Lee. All right, so you got Jordan Love, Saquon Barkley, Ashton Genty, Jamar Chase, Cortland Sutton, Jalen Waddle, Evan Ingram, James Cook, Aaron Jones, CJ Stroud. We got Stafford at quarterback 3. We've got Eckler on the bench, Bigsby on the bench, Mostert, Singletary, Land Larson. Let's go. We got Darnell Mooney, Wandale, Christian Kirk, Cedric Tillman, Calvin Austin. Got some decent dart throws here, but then, Calvin Austin, Tutu Atwell, Brandon Cooks, Jalen Lane, Pat Bryant, Kendrick Bourne, Tank Dell. Deep rosters here, it looks like. Okay, you're down your 26 first and down your 27 first and second. Okay, so let's just say this. If I see, what would I do? And if I'm in your shoes, if I pushed in my 26 and 27 first, I am balls deep. I am locked in on contending here. Like, there's just this roster already looks like a very good contender. So let's just start and say and acknowledge that's where I'm at. But there's really no reverse course at this point, especially given that your 2 years firsts are already pushed in. So what I'll say is when I'm looking at this team and kind of the areas for concern or what I would be doing if this is my team, I'll give you a couple pointers here or things that the way I roster construct for me personally. So if I'm looking at this is a start 3 receiver 2 flex. So start 10, lineup start 10. You've got Jamar Chase, Cortland Sutton, Jalen Waddle. That's 3 receivers. So here's what I'll say. I think, to me, this team, if this was my squad, I don't know if it's a full PPR or half. That would kind of matter here too. My roster construction, though, I would like to have some better receivers. Like, I would like to have a better wide receiver 4, 5, and probably 6. And I'd be okay. I mean, even honestly, if I had Christian Kirk as my 6 and Mooney as my 7, or but I would like to have at least 1 or 2 more receivers that if I was forced to put them in, or just when we get to bye weeks, right? When we get to bye weeks, before any injuries happen to your receiver room, because you have to start 3, I'd like to have better ones than Darnell Mooney or Christian Kirk, Wandale Robinson, Cedric Tillman. There's some decent ones there, but basically that would be my first kind of suggestion or thing I'd be looking to do, improve that a little bit. But then the next thing I'm doing is I'm getting rid of. So I would put on the auto accept trade block. What I would do is basically put in league chat like a draft pick for their nickname. For guys like Calvin Austin, Tutu Atwell, Brandon Cooks, Jalen Lane. If you want to hold on to Pat Bryant because you just took him, see what happens there, I get it. And Kendrick Bourne and Javon Baker, guys like that. Because what I'm looking to do basically is I want to get rid of all those spots. I view these receivers in this type of a format as what I would call a roster clogger. And what that really means is, like, at no point do I see a path for Calvin Austin or even Tutu or Brandon Cooks, Jalen Lane, any of these players to where I'm ever putting them in my lineup and feeling confident about starting them, right? Like, you might be forced to in a pinch, but you'll never feel good about it. And the reason I think that's important is just saying, okay, moving those spots out, and would be trying to boost my backup running backs with the any running back on a 53 mentality. Basically meaning even if they're the running back 2 or the running back 3 on their team, on their depth chart, like Brian Robinson going over to San Francisco now. Think about it like that, where there's B-Rob, there's Isaac Rendo, and then there's also now Jordan James, right? If there's injuries in front of those running backs, there's a very good chance, and we've seen in that backfield and other ones as well, that 2 or 3 injuries in front of Jordan James, all of a sudden, boom, he could be the guy, the lead back. Now I'll know when to start him and feel comfortable about it. So that would be the one thing I would do on this team, because it's pretty damn good as far as your starting lineup goes. But this would just be more of a, especially because I don't have my get out of jail for free cards, right? I don't have my first to use in a luxury position if I have injuries and things I need to clean up on my on the back end with this roster. So I'd kind of be trying to make preparations to tighten up my roster construction. But I feel like at the top, man, this is one of those teams that it's in a really great spot. You wouldn't. I don't feel like you need to do too much. The one thing I would say though about the starting roster, if I was to make a move, is I would probably like to either one of Jordan Love or C.J. Stroud. I feel like they're pretty similar valued. If one is going to fetch you a little bit more, I would like to probably tier down, frankly, from one of them. I don't think you have, especially without your first, I don't think you have the chips or the depth at the moment to make that luxury move to go get a true stud. But I think you can kind of pocket some dynasty value from one of them and get to a, I don't know, some of the younger players right now, like J.J. McCarthy, might be, their value starting to get a little bit higher. But honestly, even like trade down to like a Geno Smith and get a first. And then that way I have a liquid pick. Like Geno, it doesn't have to be Geno, but somebody, significantly down the ranks to where you're able to actually net a first or a first plus, so that now, while it's not the same as Jordan Love and C.J. Stroud, I think there's a chance that quarterback will score similarly to a C.J. Stroud or a Jordan Love. And now you can use that first to kind of boost your bench in the back of your roster here. So let me know if that makes sense and what you think of that. Oh, here we go, though. I didn't see this. All right, so there's a trade. Guy keeps wanting to make in this league. He wants Stroud and Genty for Lamar. Thoughts? Not doing it. Not doing it. I love Lamar, but Genty's like a borderline first-round startup pick. Stroud's a second, third-round startup pick. It's too much value. And you're not like, okay, I could maybe potentially see the scenario and argue like if we're going to get some kind of a piece back as a second. But to me, that's a luxury move I just don't think your roster at the moment has the ability to make. Just think about it from this standpoint. Now Genty would be gone. You put Aaron Jones or you put James Cook into your running back 2 spot. Aaron Jones your flex 1. When I look at your bench again, this is kind of the point. There's not. Who are you gonna? You'd be starting on a weekly basis at the moment without any future picks in the next 2 seasons, first round. Like a pretty meh player. So yeah, Lamar plus that wide receiver depth, then we're talking. Yeah, if there was a piece coming back with Lamar, I think we could probably make a different conversation. But right now, I feel like it's kind of a non-starter for me unless that piece on the second piece coming back to you in a negotiation would be pretty far north of like Darnell Mooney and someone that you actually could consider a weekly starter. If that's the case, I think we can have the combo for sure. Let me know if that makes sense. And if the other way I was talking about, you're just roster construction and potentially tearing down on a QB makes sense as well. All right, so what's your take on the JCM hype? I'm not on the bandwagon. I think it's insane he's going for a second at this point. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, Maddie. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Let's keep with this topic first, and then we'll go to JCM. I'm not actually saying that. I feel like this is a luxury move. If you had a different roster or a deeper roster, right? This is to Dylan. I think this is not. It's not necessarily. I think it's an overpay, but it's not necessarily a horrible move if you had the depth to do it, right? Certain rosters, I might say, all right, I can get behind going to get Lamar, even overpaying. I would also even there probably need some kind of a piece back just to make the values feel a little better. But I just don't think you're in the position personally to make this type of a luxury move. My personal opinion. Okay, so it's a luxury type of trade rather than a need. Yeah. Maddie and I. Okay, so we're on the same page, Maddie. Now back to the JCM thing. Well, I guess I don't think it's insane he's going for a second. I think that's kind of just what. I don't think it's insane, meaning I think I've seen people pay and would pay higher even for a player like this. Like Brian Robinson being gone, it's basically, I mean, it's Austin Eckler and a journeyman and Chris Rodriguez here on the roster. Obviously, if you feel that it's insane or the big, question mark and why this is super risky, getting into a second, 2 seconds, whatever you end up spending here, there's no guarantee he ends up being the bell cow and the guy on this roster. Now, in theory, the stars are aligning for that to be the case. I think it will be, and I think it's a here's the way I'd put it. In a portfolio, which I have, I'm at roughly 20-something leagues. If I have a handful of JCM shares, right, I think it's probably wise because you're going to have gotten them pretty cheap, either waiver wire or fourth-round draft picks typically. I don't even think I've ever seen him go in the third until maybe more recent drafts. So because I got him at that cost, I think it's probably wise for me to try to, trade out of a few of them in the second-round range where he was at now, just to, from a portfolio, diversify and not have all my, chips in one basket, and also just get some profit. But I think if you had maybe one or two leagues and you wanted to make the bet on JCM, it's probably not the best process play. But, I mean, the Commanders probably are going to be a really high-scoring offense again. And if he ends up being the one in this offense, he's going to be way, way more than a second moving forward. But, I mean, this is kind of at this time of year, people are looking to spend picks. They feel like picks are burning a hole in their pocket. So sending a second that they view as, someone you can't put in your lineup for a guy like JCM kind of makes sense to me as far as what the market typically does right now. I'm a lot lower on Stroud than consensus, though. So I think that it makes sense. I am too, but I don't know about consensus actually. I just feel like I think he has a higher dynasty market than he actually does production realistically. How do you feel if it's a split backfield, Eckler and JCM? Is it enough for flex in a 10-man full PPR with Washington offensive scoring? I mean, yeah, I think if he's even splitting the backfield, let's say he's got a potential to be the 1A and Eckler's the 1B, I absolutely think in 10-man, like almost regardless of league, I think that type of player is flex worthy. I mean, to the point when you were looking at your roster, like just think about it like this. I pull your roster back up, right? I mean, Tank Bigsby or JCM. I think you can make a strong case for – honestly, you can make a strong case for either one, but JCM I think is at least in the mix there. I think I could probably make the case that – I didn't even see that. You got Ferguson and Bates. I'll tell you the truth, I'd be getting rid of – I would definitely rather have JCM than Bates on this roster too. So, yeah, I think JCM, I doubt he's available in this league, but if he is, if that's what you're telling me, I'd be putting in the claim for sure. I can go ahead and spend some of that money up now. But yes, I do think he's very flex worthy as the 1A or the 1B in this offense at a 10-man for sure. What do you think, Maddie? What do you think of the discussion there? You asked the JCM question. Give me your feedback. I get what you're saying though, and I think it's one of those like an unheralded player that could bust. To me, this feels different though. Like, all right, let me explain another thing. Like Kamani Vidal last year, that feels very different than does this. Meaning, last year the names were gross in Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, but those guys actually had rapport with Harbaugh, and there was no sign or reason that they were going to be out of the way early, right? And as the preseason was coming along right now, we were getting the opposite vibes of Kamani Vidal. JCM's looked good in the preseason. Brian Robinson, requesting a trade, all that weird stuff, that typically means that he's not happy with his role. Like, a lot of the signs are aligning and pointing to them believing in JCM and feeling like they got a steal. It's definitely not a guarantee he's going to smash, but I mean, they already knew what they had with Eckler last year. They've already seen Rodriguez for how many years. This is clearly, I think, aligned with a little bit of belief in JCM. Has to be. Time to buy cheap on CMC. What is cheap? Because I'm just curious, actually. I don't necessarily disagree. I think CMC could be a big bounce back candidate. Obviously, the injuries are a huge problem. I don't know, man. He's a 7th rounder, and we haven't seen much success in general from players like that. Eckler still seems like the receiving back there. And C-Rod is supposedly the power back. I don't know how JCM fits. Yeah. Well, I think the eligibility issue for him in college last year does play a part. I don't think I think if you look at his tape in college, you see the kid play and how he. I'm not saying he's like otherworldly, but I think there was a chance if he had a better season last year, a different season last year, that you could be looking at this guy being a early day 3 pick, or potentially even this might be a stretch, but some people say maybe even a back end day 2 pick, like round 3. So we have seen, for example, like we've seen guys that hit maybe not long term, but we've seen guys that are undrafted or later round picks, do well. Elijah Mitchell, James Robinson early on because the workload and opportunities in front of them. But what I will say about it is, I think JCM is one of those players that, if he does very well this year, you kind of should take that production and be happy with it. But betting on him as a long-term asset probably is a little bit different when we get to Dynasty talking. W picture, Jimmy. Let's see here. Hey, this is Jimmy from the Discord. What's up, Jimmy? Can you check the Worp for my league? You know what? Jimmy, I was talking about you. I know why Matt loves the avatar. The ducks are the ducks. All right. So SKO. Yes, I can do that. Let me go ahead and pull it up here. Can you give me your username? By the way, let me pull this down while I'm talking to you guys about a million different things that didn't involve that roster. My bad. I should have caught that. Yeah, go ahead and give me your sleeper username, and I will go back to the lab here. Pull yours up. And I'll show you, actually, but you were looking to see the Worp, right? So I remember looking at this. Let's see what it is. While we're waiting for that. Yeah, I mean, well, I think here's the one thing I will say. Like, at this point, I think the backs in front of him, maybe he's not the only back, but it's close. I mean, Eckler is getting really long in the tooth, and Rodriguez has never been anything that anyone's ever. He's never gotten any real run. So, for sure. I don't. Here's what I'll say. I don't view Rodriguez as a true threat, right? Eckler is obviously a very, he has had a long career, somebody that's trusted. It's not a lock that he takes this RB1, or I should say bell cow role, and just runs with it. But to your point about it's getting risky, sure it is. I think, though, a second's appropriate, I'd say. It is risky. You're probably playing closer to the premium for him. But if he goes out and plays really well, he has all of the, I would say, the traits, and in an offense that's going to be high scoring. Like, for example, that Jacksonville offense. Like, James Robinson was very good, but that Jacksonville offense wasn't anything to, write home about. So, in a high scoring offense, JCM could end up being one of those players that's, when he has a boom week, it's kind of crazy. Like, he's valued around a 2, and there's so many other running backs I'd rather have. Give me some of those names, by the way. Let's talk, would you rather? Oh, here it is. All right. Go ahead there. I'll pull this up here for you, though. Slim Bish, 1, 2, 3. All right, let's go check this out. Now, Oregon dropouts. And let's go to the Worp tool while it's running here. So this is a paid tool over on the South Harmon website. It's called the Worp tool, wins over replacement player. The idea behind this, Jimmy, is essentially like it. So you get a graph like this. So this is multi-year. This is for the last 5 seasons. What it's trying to show you with this graph is essentially what positions are most valuable relative to the scoring and the roster size and all the stuff specifically to your league. I'm going to show you single year data and start with that just so you can kind of see actual player points from last year to kind of get a better picture, because the graph typically means nothing to people. And so one of the things you told me when you said 10-team Superflex, right? I'm remembering the specifics now. 10-team Superflex, when I typically would just think about that, thinking full PPR, I would say it's normally run by the receiver position, and sometimes Superflex, the quarterbacks, are not necessarily as highly meaningful as far as production goes. But the high-end ones are still very valuable. But I basically would have given you a conversation. You said the early picks, you were wanting to know if you should take the quarterbacks or if you should go with the skill player. So because it's half PPR though, you can see here that like Jamar Chase was good, but the line here as far as wins over the replacement player tells you that the most valuable position, most important position is not the receiver position. It's actually probably the running back, and the running backs are probably the most valuable. But what I wouldn't be doing in the first round in a 10 team, instead of drafting a guy like Lamar or Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, or even Joe Burrow probably, but those big three and Jalen Hurts, I wouldn't be drafting a Bijan or a Gibbs ahead of those quarterbacks. Now I would draft them in the first round for sure, but the main reason is because I still think I could get guys like James Cook, Achane, certainly all these type of players later. But I'll just say that when I'm looking at this, I would be looking to probably juice when I go back to this here. Let's go back to the lab now. So let's go to your team on the lab. This is Slim Bish 1, 2, 3. All right, so let's go take a look at your team now. When I look at that, I'm probably going to be. I don't know if it will come up. Maybe. Do I have it right? Slim Bish 1, 2, 3. Maybe not. But what I was going to say is what I'm probably looking to do is actually get in the early part, I'd be looking to get my stud quarterback. And then I'd probably be looking to kind of draft a little heavier approach at the running back position with what the scoring and the Worp based on that looks like in your league. So that's the way I would approach it with the Worp. Let me know if that makes sense and if there's other questions you have in regards to that. But that's kind of what I'm looking at it. When I look at the Worp tool in your league, that's the way I'm kind of viewing it and the way I see it. Interesting. The lab does not want to pull up your username. Either that or I have it wrong. No, I don't. I'm not sure. Okay, makes sense. Cool. All right. Well, we'll dip out from that point, but I think that's the way I would look at it, right? I still would like to have high-end receivers because, I'm not saying to completely fade the receiver position, but definitely, those high-end wide receivers are not in consideration for me ahead of these super flex studs at QB. That's interesting, Matt. I'm fine with Dobbins at the moment, but I definitely wouldn't be taking him ahead of JCM. Let me just say one thing, Matt, I think to keep in mind. Now, at a second, to your point, it's very risky. But when I view assets, I think if you get stuck on like who's going to produce like one for one better, because at this point in Dynasty, you could say, hey, they're similar cost. I think Dobbins is going to outscore JCM for sure. The one thing about JCM I still think that you have to bake in, because if you think it's insane right now, imagine that he goes out and has 1 or 2 RB1 weeks. Like that's not crazy for anybody to do, honestly. But let's just say he finishes as a top 10 or 12 running back one of the first 4 weeks of the year. If that's the case, and he's going for a second right now, I can almost guarantee you he's going for 2 seconds, even in a league which is pretty stingy. And there's a lot of leagues out there that he all of a sudden would be in serious consideration for a first-round pick or a player in that range and neighborhood, right? J.K. Dobbins really doesn't have that in his range of outcomes as an asset anymore, unless like he just took over, went absolutely crazy, and made R.J. Harvey irrelevant. Even then, I think some people would be pretty hesitant to even discuss sending a first for him. So the upside JCM still carries as an asset here, while it's risky. There is more to gain. There's obviously a ton to lose here still, but if he goes out and has a ton of, I would say not even a ton. If he has 1 or 2 really good weeks early on in the season, people are going to go crazy on his value at the moment. Like, actually, you know what? Let's just real quick for the sake of the argument here, see what KTC has to say on his overall value at the running back position. So, mind you, it's probably still going up like crazy. Yeah, it's honestly hard to even know when it's going to stop going up, because right now, for example, he is running back 32. He's up 157 spots. Basically, with the way their algorithm works and what's going on, you could tell he's going to still go up probably, I don't know, at least a handful of spots here. But he's ahead of Mason, Bigsby. There's some players here I would still definitely rather have, Matt, to your point. I would rather have Pollard, for sure, who's a few spots after him. But the upside, he still could have more upside on some decent weeks in production for sure. Let's see. Hold on. Difference. Different selling. You know Dobbins, but you have no idea about JCM. That's expensive. Yeah. Oh, different. Yeah, you're meaning different ceiling for sure. For sure. And I'm not saying it's not expensive. I'm not going out and acquiring JCM for a second at the moment, just because for me the way I roster construct and build my teams, it's probably pretty rare that I would need to or want to go pay that for a running back at the moment right now. Dobbins was probably the cutoff for where I'd consider JCM. It's a toss-up, but I prefer the Dobbins situation. I mean that's fair. I'm not saying you can't prefer any of it. I'm just having conversation around it. And I think, I don't know, if I just look, though, realistically, some of the running backs that are currently ahead of him and on Keep Trade Cut, like, just stick with me on the thought process here. Is it crazy to think that he could be more valuable within the first month of the season than Tyrone Tracy, DeAndre Swift, Braylon Allen, Trey Benson, Cam Scatterbo, Zach Charbonnet? I'd say absolutely not. I don't think that's crazy to think he's more valuable than those guys within the first parts of the season at all. So it's definitely risky. I mean, an asset like him going to a second already, I would say, if I'm in a portfolio, it's a perfect time to consider cashing out. But it's also like, if he ends up getting the role, we've seen players that think about Jordan Mason last year, for example. Jordan Mason had no run, really had never seen anything, and he was going for legitimately a first. There was trades in the early part of last year. Go check the receipts where Jordan Mason was netting Rome Odunze or Rome Odunze plus. So not saying that was the right thing. That was crazy to me. Absolutely crazy. I just mean a guy like JCM, if he plays well early on, still has a lot of upside in the way that people will send draft picks typically for a running back prospect like that. Unheralded at all. I just have a feeling a large part of the JCM hype is because we saw what happened with Bucky last year and people compared James Robinson to him. Robinson value thought, yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. I think, I don't know, it could be. The Bucky Irving thing definitely could play into it. I think we've seen plenty of running backs that kind of seemingly come out of nowhere that are really valuable for production. But JCM definitely should not be, it's a risky bet at the moment. I agree with that. And I think that at the moment as well, if you're hearing this and listening to me argue the pro side, it's because I just want to give context to both sides of this. I would probably more often than not, in most leagues, cash out for a second-round pick. Definitely if it's a second and a third or 2 seconds. JCM's gone for me. So I'm not. Please don't listen to this if you were watching this and be like, yeah, you should 100% go buy JCM for a second. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think there's a chance that he's going to be worth more than a second within the next month or so. And what I do want to, regardless of what side you're on, as far as this goes, my biggest caution is do not consider him and don't buy into, if he does play well early on, that now all of a sudden he's a long-term asset. That could be the case. But if you start viewing it that way, that's when you really can get burnt. And honestly, that's the thing about this. A second-round pick truly a lot of times can get you a long-term asset. So I get the feelings on both sides. Ladies, gentlemen, big dogs, I appreciate you. I appreciate all the questions, all the stuff that we're discussing today. Jimmy, putting your league out there for the 10 team. I hope that answer made sense for you. Go and check that out. That's if you go to warp.life, type that in. You go to the South Harmon FF website. You can try out the Worp tool. If you're interested in that tool or you want to know more about it, let me know down in the comments. I can probably even give some people some free access for a month if that's something you're interested in. Other than that, though, we will be back here, same time, same place. And the most important thing is if you do want to become a part of these chats, these live streams that we're doing on a every Saturday basis, you want access to our Dynasty rankings and all the stuff we have going on at BDGE. Make sure you check out bdge.co, sign up, become a Big Dog member for $9.99 a month. Ask Matt Higgins. While he can't do the JCM, I know that he has deep down in his heart BDGE for $9.99 a month. The best deal in the history of the world. Love you guys. We'll be back here, same time, same place next Saturday. I'm out of here. Peace.